I suffered with anxiety DPDR for 2 years straight, and honestly, I didn't change that much about me, if anything at all, really. I have a pretty bad sleep schedule, meaning I go to bed very late, and I also wake up late. Didn't change that, not even once throughout my recovery. I like to drink caffeine. I drank caffeine throughout my entire recovery. I like to occasionally have alcohol. I drank alcohol during my recovery. I didn't have an extremely strict routine, and ultimately, I really did not change anything about my core self or personality or the typical behaviors I would engage in. What I did change, I didn't drink extreme amounts of caffeine because before I fell into anxiety DPDR, I would drink and I'm saying insane amounts of caffeine, not just, a few cups of coffee. I would pound pre-workout like 3 scoops, which led to I think 500 to 700 milligrams at a time before going to work out, not to mention the caffeine I'd have throughout the day. And I only stopped that because it's just generally unhealthy. Outside of that, I didn't change any actual things regarding my personality or regarding my behaviors at large. What I did change, however, is my understanding of anxiety, depersonalization, derealization, and nervous system sensitization. I suffered for 2 years because I didn't actually understand these concepts wholeheartedly. And a part of me kept wondering maybe it's something worse, and that worry in and of itself kept it alive. Once I fully understood these concepts and how they're intertwined, and how our nervous system operates and the reason it produces these types of symptoms, I was able to change my relationship with the symptoms, which inevitably reduced the fear of the symptoms, which allowed me to let them exist alongside me while I lived life normally, still doing the quote-unquote crappy things I would do in my behaviors. And despite my nervous system being incredibly sensitized for 2 years straight, and I mean terrible symptoms for 2 years straight, I actually recovered pretty quickly after I stopped caring about it. The hardest part is just reaching the point where you don't care. And truthfully, that just comes from going into the symptoms and living life as normally as you possibly can, allowing them to come with you, labeling them as what they are, as just products of sensitization, and allowing them to take their time, and take as much time as they need to. Not putting timelines on yourself and not putting this extra stress on yourself, and just focus on responding properly to the symptoms and not on the symptoms themselves. And I'm sure there'll be people that'll say, oh, well, your case is different, or maybe you didn't have it that bad. I had it for 2 years. And there was 2 years of constant 24/7 suffering. And I'm not exaggerating when I say 2 years straight. I would wake up in the morning, I'd have morning anxiety. I wouldn't know, my apartment literally wouldn't feel like my own. It felt like I didn't know where I was. I'd look at my mother, I would almost feel like that was a stranger. I'd look at my girlfriend, it would feel like she's a stranger. I'd have repeated panic attacks. At given points throughout the day, it would feel like my body was being electrocuted internally for whatever reason. I had insane health anxiety where I was constantly thinking I was developing something new, and I was so sure that I was losing my mind or going crazy or developing schizophrenia. I was 100% sure in my mind. Even though logically I knew it didn't make sense, I felt like I was losing my mind. And logically, it just never made sense to me how one day I can be completely normal, doing all the stuff that I love, staying up late, whatever, doing these things, even if they're maladaptive in some ways, being able to do these things normally and feel normal, then I have a panic attack and boom, now I'm just messed up for the rest of my life. That never made sense to me. And by that same logic, you don't need to shift every single thing of your life into this whole other thing. You don't need to become this whole new person. That's just BS. We just need to learn how to respond to the symptoms and give our body, our brain, and our nervous system a chance to breathe. A good example would be if someone went out for a long night of drinking, right? And, they wake up the next morning and they're hungover and they have anxiety. That's extremely common. What do? They acknowledge, okay, I have anxiety because I'm hungover, and they let it phase out and they're okay the next day. Instead, if they were super worried about the sensation and wondering, why am I anxious right now? Why is this happening? They would fall right into the same pit the same way we did. If we had a panic attack and we developed DPDR briefly after, it's the obsessing over it afterwards that kept it around. It's the worrying about the next panic attack that kept it around. It wasn't the exact panic attack or the DPDR or anything. It's how we responded to it early on and just basically dug ourselves into a hole of sensitization. But if you'd like more information on anxiety, DPDR, and nervous system sensitization, you can get my completely free DPDR Calm Kit by clicking the link on my profile.